So welcome back, guys, to episode 7 now of CultrTalk. This podcast is brought to you by
Culture. That is me and Shuhan's marketing company, where we mainly focus on the online side of marketing. So with like Instagram, Facebook, also like creating websites and all those kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
We also have House Sheba.
Yeah, so House of Sheba is your one-stop shop for beauty, skincare and hair care products catered to women with melanin-rich skin, and that's launching in 2019. So make sure to check all the links in the description for that. And today we have a special guest for episode 7. Welcome, Simeon, who is a good friend. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you for coming down. You know?
Pleasure to be
For
here.
real.
Want to tell us a bit about who you are?
Well,
Bring yourself into the light.
the intro's already been done. My name is Simeon. So I go to UCL, which is obviously where I met all of you guys. And while at UCL, I am studying neuroscience. And I guess it's fair to say that my university experience hasn't been the sort of normal route that someone would take. So it was actually last year where I decided to interrupt my studies by taking a gap year for reasons which we will get into a bit later.
Yep.
But within this year, I've been doing a lot of self-reflection, understanding myself better as the person. I've gone into a job where I'm actually a teaching assistant in an SEN school.
Okay.
So I'm working alongside children with autism and other difficulties. And that has really opened my eyes to a lot of things going on in today's world, which are perhaps neglected and forgotten about.
Yeah.
But that's also relating to my course, which is neuroscience. And it's relating to my course, which will help me in my future years with my dissertation, etc.
So what made you want to go into an SEN school? Was it like a certain... What choice did you have to make? What decision? What made you want to go into
Okay,
that?
so I guess it is the personal aspect.
Okay.
Having been surrounded by family, friends, etc., that have suffered with autism.
Okay, yeah.
And I guess it's my own inquisitive nature and that curiosity, whereby I want to understand the complete scale of autism. And I feel like the only way you can understand it is by working alongside those children. And I guess it's such a rewarding job. I mean,
Yeah.
with some of the children I've worked with, the reward that you get out of it, you can't put into words. So the reward side of things as well, making me, want to wake up in the morning and get to work and make the change is something that I just needed in my life at this period of time. So it's been the perfect job for me. It's been the perfect experience.
You know, when you said at the start, you said you've taken a different route.
Yeah.
Like, what was the... Because we're still in it. We're just going through uni, expecting at the end there's gonna be a gold pot, which is like which is a job, and then
So the way that I saw things is, and I guess I can use this analogy in a sense. So let's say, for example, I promised you if you were to behave well, at the end of the week you could have a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one scenario. A second scenario is I could give you a taste of the chocolate bar, and then, given that you behaved well for the rest of the week, you can have the chocolate bar at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Okay? So after tasting the chocolate bar, do you think you're going to be more motivated to then get the chocolate bar, given that you behaved well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
definitely.
course.
Can you agree on that?
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the way I saw it was, we're promised that we're going to obviously exit university with a job, which we know is not always the case, is it?
Yeah.
No.
So I guess the way that I looked at things and the way that I saw things is, I don't want to be promised this, I want to know what I'm going into.
Okay.
So the way I saw it is, I'm obviously having this emotional turmoil at university, which I guess all of us have been through at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I wanted to taste what was out in the real world. The only way I'm going to taste what's out in the real world is taking that break and actually going out into the real world. And that's where I actually discovered a lot, which has now motivated me to return to university and do well in my studies to get back into the real world.
So do you think a gap year is wise? But do you think it depends on the person?
100%, it would depend on the person.
Right.
You need to know yourself. If you know within that year, you're literally just going to laze around, you're easily going to get distracted from the ultimate goal, which is to finish off your degree at some point, then perhaps a gap year would not be best for you. But if you are going through that sort of like emotional battle and struggle where university is not a reward for you anymore, it's become a burden, and you're asking, do I even want to continue with my course? Then perhaps you do just need a break to reevaluate the situation that you're in, and that may often provide you the extra boost and energy that you need on return to your studies. So most definitely, I think it does depend on the person.
I personally think people, when they're coming, like sixth form, when they're going to apply for universities, there's almost this false perception of what university is going to be for you. And I sometimes feel like it's not out of your own choice. You have family pressures, people telling you, oh yeah, you need to be going to university, this and that. Like, university is not be all end all. Like, there's other options.
No, there's other options. Yeah.
It's like, as you said, find yourself as a person. Don't go into something that you're not too sure about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
On someone else's word.
And exactly that. Like, so again, like, you decided to go into teaching. What made you go for that? For example, I think a lot of people in their gap year would decide to do something related to the career path or traveling even. But a lot of people go for the career path, which they'll end up taking after uni, after they graduate. But you went for teaching.
Yeah.
Do you plan to go into teaching after you graduate?
Teaching is something I've never thought about going into.
Okay.
It's something that would never have crossed my mind, and I think it's because the fact that it would never have crossed my mind that led me to do it. And people would ask the question, why would that lead you to do something that you don't even want to end up doing? But for me, I'm the sort of person that I love gaining experiences from things that perhaps are not in my comfort zone.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that.
Exactly.
Like, getting out of your comfort zone, that's like the best thing you can do.
Put yourself out of your comfort zone is the only way that you're going to eventually learn to be comfortable in that period or that zone. So I knew things that I didn't like doing, and things I don't like doing is the things that I do a lot. Public speaking. I hate public speaking. I have terrible anxiety when I get on stage. Right now, I'm very nervous even talking within this room. But I force myself to do it because I see it in the sense that you have to put yourself through these things. So that's exactly why I went into teaching.
And I think it comes off so strongly because you can barely sense that you're even nervous.
I can't even tell.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I've known
You
you
just seem really
since,
confident like with your situation. Like,
because I've known you since first year. I say you have a decent social media presence. Like, you do your stuff, and I feel like you have a voice. Like, I can't tell that you have this feeling of anxiety and stuff. Like, you almost mask it quite well. But again, you're breaking out of your comfort zone, and you're telling yourself it's okay to do this. I think at the end of the day, it's telling yourself it's okay. I can do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, because like sometimes I get that. I feel like I always think about people going to judge me. What are people going to say? How am I going to look? How am I going to be like? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I always. But then at the end of the day, it's okay to think that.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay not to be okay. Yeah. No one has a life where they wake up in the morning and everything is perfect from the morning they wake up. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not like that.
Yeah. And portraying that lifestyle is not benefiting you because you yourself know that the lifestyle you're portraying is not how you're feeling. And it's not benefiting anyone else because you're not helping other people by feeding them lies of how life is going to be, because life is not going to be that what it's portrayed out to be. And that's the hard fact of it. Life is tough. And it's going to be tough. And we have to face the fact it's going to be tough. But we also have to come together as a support group, as a community, to support each other going through things.
Yeah. Just be there for each other, you know what I mean? You know, we went to Dublin, and then the guy, Eugene, he recommended this book, 47 Rules for Genius. Yeah. I actually read that, you know.
You read
it's actually really
Is that the
good.
book with interviews?
No, it's like 47 Rules of Genius. So it's like 47 rules they give you on there. Yeah. And it's like how to deal with like real life situations. And it's actually really good.
Really?
Like, the one they spoke about, the comfort zones. Yeah. You know the quote you just said now, it's okay not to be okay. They literally said that on that. Yeah. They said no one is going through an easy time. Everyone has internal turmoils. And it's okay not to be okay. Yeah. And it's like, I think that's a good read. I think everyone should read that.
I'll definitely check it out.
I read that.
But do you guys think that like when you pretend to be okay, it actually makes yourself worse from the inside?
It makes it so much worse because
it impacts like your mental state.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're pretending to be okay.
You're pretending not to be yourself,
and like you're alone.
When you do that,
when it comes up.
You're literally creating a deeper hole within yourself. Yeah. And when you do that, you're not allowing people to help you. You're not helping yourself essentially. No, exactly. But it's not. It's so hard to say that's the fault of the person, you know, like it's so hard to bring yourself out of that, like, and that could be that they need therapy or they need people to talk to or they don't have people to talk to. Maybe they don't feel open talking about that with family, or maybe their parents don't understand. But, you know, it comes from a place of, you know, like you need good people around you and you need to try and seek out help, you know, if you do feel like that.
Did your brothers take a gap year?
None of them took a gap year, so
straight through.
Yeah, they went straight through. They went to Ghana and did their A levels there, and then they came back.
You obviously went to Nigeria because you know.
I'm 30% Nigerian. I'm never gonna live this one down.
You know, I'm never gonna let this go. I'm never gonna let this go.
It's actually bad, but yeah, they came back. Then they redid their A levels and then went straight into uni. Oh, okay. Now they're in work.
Has Richard got another job now?
Yeah, he's working for the NHS, at the moment. So
these two guys, I want to model myself off them. They've been, they're killing it.
Yeah, your
honestly.
brother.
Yeah, honestly.
I remember the first time I met you, you were actually explaining the whole process that they went through to the point they got to now. It's just admirable.
It's insane.
It can be done.
Yeah.
And if you were to ask them how they got to the point that they've been through, they wouldn't tell you that it's all fun and joy. There's going to be trials and tribulations.
There's a lot of hard work.
Which, as you said, I feel like we're going to get in deep to it now. What I'm about to say, in the sense that when I was in school, I remember, I don't know if your teachers were the same, and perhaps it's not the teacher themselves, but perhaps it's the whole system behind the teaching that leads to them even come to the point where the teachers said this to the students, but the teachers used to say, university is easy. It will be the easiest part of your life. Did you ever have that in school?
Yeah, I think I had that perception, you know.
Or A-levels are harder than
university. A-levels are hard,
My teachers were real with me. They were like, you're going to suffer. And I was like, okay.
No, I had that.
Some teachers will be truthful. And other teachers will not be truthful with that. So I think there is the fact we do have to be truthful with our young people. We do have to protect our young people. But protection all the time isn't by telling them a lie. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? We do have to tell them exactly how it's going to be. Because the problem that we're having right now is that people are signing up to university that perhaps shouldn't have gone down the university route in the first place. Thinking it's going to be an easy ride, thinking it's going to be a nice social, fun aspect, while forgetting the ultimate goal of university is to get your degree at the end.
And that's because it reflects on the sixth forms when they get kids to go to the top universities in the world, the Russell groups and whatnot. But what they're not showing or telling kids is that there's so much more to university that doesn't make it so easy, such as the mental impact, you know, like some people not being able to find friends, the lack of mental health services. There's so much within university that they don't teach you, but they just try and push you towards it.
I think without a doubt, it cannot be questioned whether or not there is an underfunding of mental health services within university. Because having been through the mental health services at UCL, I can say from my experience, it is underfunded. And from many other experiences, I'm sure that they would agree with me. So what can be done on that, do you reckon?
Okay, should I say it or do you want to say it? You say. So basically, we last year we had an entrepreneurship module, which we had to think of a business idea, and we had to make like a whole business case for it and everything. And he said, make a business idea or something you believe in, right? And then we came up with the idea of mental health at universities.
I do remember that actually.
Minds Matter.
Yeah, Minds Matter.
Yeah. So what we're now doing is in our dissertation, in our masters, because we're doing masters now, we work on a project to get a business off the ground. So we're planning now to get Minds Matter off the ground. So it becomes essentially every university's mental health department almost. And because we're students that have gone through the whole university system, and then we've experienced mental health our lives at some stage, we feel like putting our time and effort and getting students involved in there, we can make a whole big solution that just brings everyone together. Because I understand where you're going, because even UCL mental health services, there's a waiting list. There's a waiting list.
There is a waiting list.
Yeah.
So like if you're going through something that's real deep and then someone's sitting there saying, oh, wait 2-3 weeks and then we'll get back to you. Do you think that
exactly.
Exactly. And within that 2-3 week period, the symptoms can get worse. We don't know what's going on within that period. And sorry to cut you off, but just to add to that point, when I was in high school, for example, when I first started to reflect on my own personal mental health and think, okay, I'm not in a position where I should be. I'm not feeling out myself. And, you know, having gained the courage to even go to my school and say, do you have any mental health services that can help me? I was put on a waiting list. And did I even get seen? No, I didn't get seen at all. And it is a problem. And it is a problem that has to be addressed, because the fact of the matter is, and this is the stats telling us, that 75% of people that come into university with no mental health disorder leave with a mental health disorder. It's not because they just joined and thought, oh, I know what depression is now because I learned this in my module.
Yeah, that's not the case.
That's not the case. They know what it is before, exactly. But that's a problem. And
I spoke to like a head of year at UCL, and he was telling me that the uni does have a problem with not recognizing mental health. And they've only just started to recognize it now.
Of course.
What's that new thing they've made?
So positive. So I think since you left, the funding was around 130,000, and that's what we found out within our business feasibility plan for Minds Matter. And I think they upped that after student protests to around...
Yeah, it was up.
300, no less.
I don't know.
I don't know the
170 or 180K or something. But it wasn't as much as the students need at all. So what they've done now is they've used an app called Positive, which is a mental health app, which they've made a partnership with. And even though, of course, that's really helpful, we feel like personally, like being able to use an app to search mental health advice is great. All advice is great for mental health, but like we wanted to add a personal touch with Minds Matter and allow students to connect with the student psychological services at universities directly, and allowing them to provide help, so you don't feel like you're just talking to nobody.
But it's true. And what you said about the personal touch is so true, because as you said, you need a sense of community around it or around you. And I guess what I'm really grateful for, and this is in relation to my course mates, absolutely amazing people, where if they're going through an issue, they're not scared to say, I'm finding this piece of work difficult. And speaking to Maya, in fact, when I spoke to Maya, she actually said something, and she said that within the law course, it's a bit different because people are not as open to speaking about the issues, because they have that mentality where it's driven, competitive nature. Yeah. If I say I'm finding it difficult, then that's showing a weakness to another person. And I do feel that the personal touch is so key. We don't just need an app to help us. We do need that community, and we do need that sense of real people around us.
So like on the app, we're gonna add like features such as like you can sign up either with your name or anonymously, and you can talk to people that join that. So like someone else is also going through it, and you can all almost like be each other's support system. If that makes sense, because I feel like with mental health, so you'd rather talk to someone that's been through it rather than someone that studied it. Yeah. Because they know what the books say. Someone that's gone through it know how it actually is, if that makes sense. But it's like a whole mixture of everything. We want it to be like the all-round. Obviously, we're in the works there, and I feel like we should speak to you more after this, like about it. But we want to get something like that developed and off the ground.
And obviously, like, we understand, I think we all understand, there's no one solution to, like, you can't just take the global term depression and think there's one solution to it, or anxiety, there's so many branches. It's based on so many personal things in somebody's life, you know.
But that's the problem nowadays. People think that AI is the solution to everything, where, like, you say, oh, I have depression, and they just give you a basic reply, being like, oh, do this, you'll be fine. But it's much deeper than that. It takes a lot of character building and mental building for you to get out of that situation, to then better yourself, to then feel okay with talking to someone.
And of course, everyone's, as you're saying, the character building, the mental building, it's going to be different for every person, isn't it? So this is from my experience once again. So I've been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, insomnia. So these were all through a period when I was struggling with this, and I finally built up the courage to go to the doctor, to go to my GP to speak about the issues. Now, I kid you not, on the first time that I went to speak to my GP, the conversation lasted 2 minutes. Within that 2 minutes, I did not get asked, are you eating properly? Are you sleeping properly? Are you having stress at work? Because if you ask those questions, I can say, no, I'm not eating properly, I'm not sleeping properly, and I'm stressed at work. So then these are 3 factors already that are perhaps contributing to the way I'm feeling. But they didn't ask those questions. What they do is go straight to the pharmaceutical cure.
Medicine.
Or they go down a medical route. So they give you the medicine now that you'll be taking when perhaps you don't even need to take it, which is one issue within itself. But the second issue, in my opinion, is just the complete lack of support for the other methods like cognitive behavior therapy, for example, where people just need to sit down and actually to reevaluate the whole situation that has led to them getting to this dark place.
You know,
medicine throne.
I always say this, and I always stand by this. The whole healthcare system is a business. It's a business to make money. It's not a business to help anybody. It's not a business to make anyone feel better. It's a money making scheme. You come in with a mental health like problem, they'll straight say, I'll go to the pharmacy, and then they'll give you this and this drug, or that and drug. Do you know what I mean?
It literally angers me, man. Like, honestly, like, not every pill or can help you. It depends what you put into your body. Even like thoughts that you put into your body comes out. So what you put in comes out. We spoke about this in the fitness episode, and like literally the best thing to do is what you put in.
It's true.
Some things is literally vitamins, food,
literally,
and your lifestyle. So when they're sitting there telling you go take, like, I've got family members that when I go to the house, I see their medicine cupboard, and it's like boxes of tablets they have to take daily. And it's for this, it's for that, it's for that. And then I look at how they're eating and their lifestyle, and I'm just thinking, if you change that and increase your a better lifestyle, better diet, more vitamins, you don't need to be on all these drugs. Because the problem with these drugs is that once you stop taking these drugs, you relapse.
Yeah, that is the truth in a lot of cases. So the relapse rates are very high. And of course, it only offers a short-term cure, as you said, because as soon as you take it away, back in the same situation. So in terms of the long-term cure, as you were saying about the whole, what you feed your mind and what you're even allowed to cultivate within your mind, allow it to grow, your mind does control your physical body and how you feel. And it is a fact. If you get more sleep and you're eating better foods and you're putting better things into your body,
100%.
you will feel better in that sense. And I guess the reason that depression is such a hard topic to discuss, because it's easy to say it from the outside. Oh, just eat better, sleep better. I've been in that situation when I've been trying to eat, I've been trying to sleep, but I can't do it. And depression is so destroying and traumatizing because you're spiraling in that circle where you're trying to eat better and you're trying to sleep better, but you can't. And because you can't sleep better, now you can't eat because you understand what I'm saying? So you sort of end up in a dark hole, and the truth is the government and the medical professionals haven't done anything significant to help us.
And I just want to say, it's not like medicine can't help, but you can see how much the pharmaceutical industry benefits and how much money they generate from selling and producing drugs, essentially. But what we see is doctors aren't paid enough. There's not enough money put into a mental health service. Like, so how do you expect
there's just
that
cuts
to be
everywhere.
reflected?
There's just NHS has been cut. We already know that because of Brexit.
How can you not pay somebody whose their job is literally to help people?
And regardless of, I guess regardless of the other situations which are going on, just going back to your point on the amount that doctors are getting paid, are you going to be motivated to even go into work? You're saving people's lives, but it's the level of motivation that you're going into work with, which I think people seem to forget. Doctors are normal human beings. If I've had a bad day the day before, am I going to want to go into work the next morning?
No.
Or if I don't think I'm getting paid enough for my job, am I going to want to go into work? Am I going to go into work knowing it's going to be another stressful day in A&E full of stabbing victims that just go out of Croydon?
Exactly. And that will reflect in the type of questions, for example, that your GP asks you.
Exactly.
Like, they won't, how would you expect someone to go through 7 years of a degree or however long it would be and then come out of that being able to help somebody with no motivation or no incentive,
And there's truth in that point, because we need to offer support to the community, and we know it for a fact. But we also need to offer support to the medical professionals, because the way I see it is we're trying to obviously help the community improve the overall mental health, because depression is becoming a large epidemic in this country. But at the cost of this, we're affecting the mental health of the doctors, because there's a lack of funding, there's a lack of support for them in order to help us. So if they're going through bad mental health themselves, how can they help us? That's one of the questions I ask always. How can they help us?
You need to go down to the roots of this problem. It's instead of trying to add little touches from the outside, it's going from the roots of it. And your point about medicine can, of course, it can. But at the end of the day, when you're putting something unnatural into your body to fix something that's your body is natural, right? And then what happens when you stop taking that? Do you get what I mean? I think everyone.
It's just a suppressant. Like,
it suppresses and masks it. Medicine, that's what I think it does. So I think what people need to do instead of that is think about the long term. So fix from your root yourself.
It's like a nervous system.
You fix yourself with that. That's a long term solution rather than It's like it's like Asians. I don't know, Asian parents, like anything happens, take a paracetamol.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, you break a leg. Oh, here's some paracetamol.
I'd be drowning and my dad probably dash paracetamol in there. Just be like, come on, dude. Let's go now. But this brings us nicely to mental health in men. Because I feel like men probably struggle the most to come out with this sort of stuff, and because they have that sort of feeling that
there's a culture not to talk.
It's like
I shouldn't feel like this. I'm a man. I shouldn't be like this. I shouldn't you get what I mean? It's like a culture not to talk about it and to just to man up and deal with it, which I think is a very bad mindset to have.
I think it is a very bad mindset to have. It's very obviously there's been a lot more talk recently of things such as toxic masculinity, and I guess I'm seeing it on Twitter all the time, especially in the black community now. They're often discussing the mental health within the black males. And there is an issue there with mental health within the males, we know the reasons behind this. We know why men aren't talking up. We know, for example, I know it. I'm coming from a Caribbean background, and a lot of times there's sort of things that my father could even say to me where I question him on it, and I say, Dad, should you really say that? Because we're coming from two different generations in that sense, so we're having 2 different mindsets and views on it. But how to combat it is the question, because it does exist, and I don't know how anyone can say differently, which I am starting to see.
Yeah.
I was told yesterday that like there's an increase in suicide rates between 40 to 50-year-olds because of financial situations, marital situations, but then also you can't ignore the fact that even teenagers now, it's increasing dramatically. It's not like by a small amount, it's dramatically because of situations in education and then also work life that they can't talk to people about.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of men just feel like it's hard to say like this is what they're feeling, this is what they're saying, but when they're going through something, they almost have that I need to maintain an image that I'm not weak, if that makes sense. I need to maintain an image that I'm not going through something.
It's come from a place of social identity and how a man's place in the world should be and how a woman's place in the world should be. And with our parents' generations, it's been the man is the leader of the household. He does X, Y, and Z. He keeps the family in check. The woman does X, Y, and Z, stays at home, blah, 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 blah. So we've created these 2 roles, almost like they're jobs. And it's like, within the man's role, it's like they're not allowed to talk or express all of this. And then we put pressure on women to be the emotional hub for the family or whatnot. And it's
But like then, like I saw something on Instagram where what people say to men when they're like feeling depressed or something is man up. Yeah. Or to a woman, you're just being emotional.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
you do think of it, but that's exactly true. The differences in words that we use, you're being too emotional, that could easily be applied to males, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Of course it could.
But we don't say that.
But we don't
say
say
it
it.
yourself. We say man up, or you're a big boy now.
Yeah.
Don't be a crybaby.
Exactly.
You get things like that. And I look back at my childhood, I probably got those things said to me. You're a big boy now. In fact, I know I have had those things said to me. And I guess as children, you don't see how it can build up in your subconscious mind. Yeah. But all of these things are contributing to the bad mental health that a lot of men in today's society are going to have for the reasons that you're saying. Yeah. So I feel when we're discussing this topic, it is a taboo topic, but I feel like a lot of times we do know the reasons behind it, but it's how we're combating them, which is the issue.
Yeah, because the man-up mentality is literally to deal with things yourself.
Yeah, or just to push it down.
Yeah,
and
to
just
push it down, suppress it, and move on.
Until it
suppress
explodes.
and move on.
Exactly. Until it explodes, and then it like
and then even
you.
Then, you still don't talk about it because it's not culturally acceptable.
And I guess this repression of your feelings, it doesn't only have to lead to bad mental health. It can also lead to things. For example, I was watching a TED talk, and this was a black male living in America, and his dad was an army veteran. So for him, he was obviously had a lot of expectation to go down the same route and serve his country, but instead he became a felon, and he was in prison for many different charges, including murder and multiple stabbings while he was actually in the prison. And he then got released eventually after many years. He came out and spoke about how toxic masculinity was implemented from his childhood and how it led to him to become to that stage. And he was just saying how it doesn't just have to lead to bad mental health, but it can also formulate other things. Exactly, life choices. Yeah. I'm a man. It's all about the power. When you're in school, there's often 2 different routes of power. You're either, this is what he said, you're either a jock, so in America, you know the jocks from the films, or you're a bully. And if you're not either of those, then you haven't got the power, and therefore you're not a man.
That's so interesting. So can we actually talk about that? So in terms of...
Oh, yes, we can talk about it. It's a podcast.
It's a podcast, of course.
It's a podcast.
So in terms of that American lifestyle, like either a jock or a bully, do we feel like schools in the UK provide more opportunity for you to become someone, or to... Because I feel like I hear a lot of people who go into crime, a lot of young kids who go into crime, stabbings and whatnot, gangs, often say they weren't given the chance, or they didn't have the opportunities at school. Yeah. Do we really think that's the case?
Listen to this. I'm not going to go too deep into it because it's personal, but situations have happened, and then I've had to speak to some people, and I've been straight up and I said it. To join a gang, to walk around, to do gang related stuff, at the end of the day, it's all a choice. okay, you can say you had the wrong crowd around you, you had this and that, but it's a choice.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, you've made that conscious decision to go and do this.
I agree.
If you thought about, if I do this, what's the next step? Then you would never have done it. Do you know what I mean? You made that conscious choice. From where we've come from in school as well, from the people we knew, from the people I knew from out of school, I could have gone to a different route of life completely.
Yeah, we all could.
But you make that conscious choice. Also, you think about, do you respect yourself and people around you? If you do this, how would they feel? If you do this, how would you feel about yourself? Would you want to see someone else do that? It's a conscious choice.
But I think it's about image.
Doesn't matter.
Especially with young kids, like you know how it is, like people in their groups, they say,
it can be manipulated.
if you don't do this, then you're no one.
But when these kids turn around and say, oh, yeah, feel sorry for me, I've done this because of this and that. Nah, you made a conscious choice now.
Yeah, exactly. Don't feel sorry for them because they made that choice. But then, like, there's always a backstory to it. There's always like,
100%.
Oh, my friends put me under pressure. They peer pressured me to do this and that. To carry a knife, to take drugs, whatever.
It's got to a point where it's silly now.
Yeah, I do agree. Don't get me wrong. To an extent, I would have to agree it's a choice. Yeah. But I guess that comes with the question, how far is our choice down to our own free will? I guess it's that question. Because you cannot deny the fact there are factors which can lead to a person to become more susceptible or predisposed to turn into a criminal, such as austerity, poverty, and just name a few. But it's true, given the same situation, a person could be placed in the same situation as someone else. It doesn't mean they're going to go down the same route. Yeah. So there's obviously something in that as well that we do have to look at, which I do agree at. Yeah. But overall, in terms of the larger issue, if you're talking about knife crime now, I would say austerity and poverty are two of the main issues that we have to look at, and two of the issues that the government don't want to look at.
Yeah, because I'd say the UK is good at sweeping things under the rug. As in, these things don't surface at all.
There's a stabbing every single day.
Exactly.
Do you see it on the news?
Yeah.
Do you hear about it?
Because it happens so much.
I find out because I search through Twitter and I find out, this is happening.
Yeah.
But do you ever have it in mainstream media? Never.
And that's what I'm saying. I think the UK, as opposed to America, is better in, for example, mixing societies, cultures. Like, it's not so much like America where, for example, they dump all the poor people in New Orleans, or like there's literally states full of poor people. So, of course, crime will manifest and continue to grow.
You know what's mad? It used to be like that here, because there's certain areas where they would stick people like. But have you not realised recently they've been doing new builds and stuff like that?
That's what I'm saying.
And they've been putting in.
They're trying to bring up the areas.
They've been putting in people.
Gentrification.
Yeah, exactly. So like, for instance, take Tottenham. Yeah. Even around the stadium and all that, they're building new apartments and they're putting in like people that are not from obviously the class that Tottenham are known for. Yeah. Even East London, a lot of people are being moved in, a lot of people are being moved out. I think they're trying to like, you know what I mean? Like, but in America, they don't really care. Like, if you literally certain areas where
America's massive, you need to think of a geographical point of view.
Exactly. Yeah, of course.
Like, look how small the UK is compared to America. I think like the UK was probably like the same size as New York. Let's say. Yeah. Like, it's massive. Like the buildings are much bigger. There's more apartments. So here we have houses where people buy them outright and then they can just take care of it themselves. But then when people can't buy houses and they have to like move around, being from house to house to house through the council, that's when the problems start coming in. And that's why people think that gang is the only option.
Why do you think knife crime is? Because you literally see it every single day. Yeah. Every single day someone. Yeah. Is it a system failure, or is it our parents failing us, or is it, what is it? What there needs to be, like, there has to be, because like knife crime wasn't this big. Like, I'd say, would you say 5 years ago knife crime was as much as it is now?
No. I'd say now it's very similar to how it was maybe when we were 11 or something, around that time.
Why has it? Because
2006 period.
2000s, yeah.
2005, 2006, some crazy.
Yeah. What's scary is that I see it on Twitter and I'm just like, it's another stabbing.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm thinking,
normalized. The fact it's normalized.
It's normalized, and you do desensitize it.
The fact that I'm thinking like that, I'm just there like, wait, I'm actually just sitting there like, someone else got stabbed. Like, that's crazy to me. Like,
I don't think it's a parental issue. Like, I don't think it's from the parents, like, as the source, because no mother wants their kid to be running around with a knife, stabbing people or like selling drugs or whatever. I think it's mainly an issue of image. where like power comes in,
Yeah.
where people want to be in that area, they can't really get out, so they say, I want to be the king of this area.
I also think the system is failing people.
So you could say it's a system thing.
I think there is a system failure, but the system would not obviously be fully accountable, because as you said, it does come down to choice, and it does come down to parental factors in some places. You see that a lot of people that turn towards crime often do come from single parent families.
Yeah.
A lot of them often are black skinned.
Yeah.
So these are the questions we have to ask. Why is it this case? I guess in terms of the system failure, everyone often speaks about the need for youth workers and the need for more youth clubs in order to keep them busy, keep people off the streets. I'm an advocate for that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I do feel like if you're obviously off the street, then you're less likely to be involved with the issues. But I think often the way that we combat things is quite wrong. So I don't know if you've been keeping up to date with the news. This was, say, November last year, 2018. Sadiq Khan was basically just talking about the recent knife crimes. So at this period, when he was talking, there was 4 knife crimes over a period of 5 days.
Yeah.
So I remember it.
I remember that.
Social media was heated. There was people wanting questions. Parents just terrified for their children.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because if you started to notice, a lot of the knife crimes now are not just between gangs. There's innocent people dying. There was Harry
Oh,
Uboka?
yeah, the model.
Yeah, killed innocent.
Yeah.
There was a girl in Tottenham recently, Tanisha,
Yeah,
I think her name was. Tanisha was murdered. Another innocent who's apparently not involved with any crime.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, Caledonian Road.
Exactly.
A kid
There was
killed.
one in Croydon. You know, there's obviously Croydon is one of the hothead capitals, if you put it in that.
Yeah.
But it's grown. It's gone past the point where it's just between gangs, and you're seeing it in the papers. Broad daylight stabbings now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way we're combating this is we're putting more police onto the streets.
But,
And
are
we're
they?
talking about introducing the idea of stop and search.
A lot of people are against stop and search.
Yeah.
Am I against stop and search? I remember when Dave tweeted about it, actually.
And
Yeah.
I honestly, me
And
personally,
then he got
I
stopped.
don't understand why he got so much flack for
And
that.
I agree with that.
What do you say?
He said they should reintroduce stop and search.
So he was just saying
and
to
people
reintroduce it.
ripped him apart, and then he went and reversed that statement on Hangman.
He
I
did,
think.
yeah. He reversed on
And
Hangman.
on
the tweet as well. He
On the
actually
tweet as
worded
well.
the tweet
What did he
saying-
say?
He was basically trying to reason and explain himself. He went on to say, obviously I'm against stop and search. I know it's racialized. The policing system in this country is racialized. He knows it. But if it is going to help to reduce crimes or reduce eventual crimes, then so be it.
Yeah.
Because there was obviously the desperation there. That was after the death of Harry. But the problem for me with stop and search is it's not going to tackle the root cause. Because, all right, cool. They started the violent, I think they call it the violent task force. Sadiq Khan introduced it. So they invested 15 million.
Knocking over like mopeds.
Yeah, so they got, initially it was 150 policemen, but now it's 272, I think it is. 272 policemen, highly trained in order to combat this. And they did a lot of searches. And during the searches, they found a lot of weapons. I think they did 5,500 searches and made 2,500 arrests. Jeez. Which you look at the stats and you think, oh,
that's crazy.
That's crazy. That's
like
good, isn't it?
50%. Yeah.
Okay, so you stopped it from progressing to the point where he's used a knife, but you didn't stop it to the point where he's even picked up the knife.
Yeah.
That is the issue here. And that's what I think people are forgetting. The issue is that we're not focused on the fact that the person has gone out in the first place to the point where he's even thought, I have to pick up a knife. You stopped it too late because you stopped it. Now he's got the knife.
Yeah.
So Sadiq Khan can boast that 90% of the time we're catching the people that have committed homicides. Round of applause for that. But you haven't stopped it coming to the point where it's been a homicide. You haven't stopped it to the point that the person's picked up a knife. Stop and search, it's racialized. I don't think we can use it in this country as much anymore.
Yeah.
It's statistically proven 6.3 times more a black person, 2 times more a mixed race or Asian person will be stopped compared to a white person. Even though white people, on essence, they actually carry a lot more drugs. And I'm not going to say knives because I don't know about the statistic there, so I'm not going to say it. But the point being that it's still stopping it too late. So there still is an issue here. So that's why I can't agree with.
I feel like there should be more. Say stop and because stop and search is kind of a hard thing to be like. Let's implement it because there's a lot around it. But I feel like there should be more maybe police presence on the areas that are most. Do you get what I mean?
So,
like the areas that are most in the danger category. There should be more police presence.
Well, the thing is, then some people would also say, like that's racial targeting,
Yeah.
or they'll say they're only putting police in the black
No, but no,
areas,
no,
or
but like.
But like, where it's
If
statistically
if
proven.
statistically
Maybe
if
the option.
statistically that
that's what they
area
do.
has stabbing rates,
Yeah.
if like what's the point in sticking someone say in let's give Crouch End for an example, yeah. Okay, what's the point in putting police presence in Crouch End, yeah, and then
yeah, they'll be at the
true,
coffee
yeah.
shops, yeah, like chilling.
And
like, do you
Yeah.
get what I mean? Like, I don't. Yeah, people are always gonna have a problem with anything you do, regardless.
Yeah.
But if it's statistically proven that this area has a problem with this, then there should be police presence
Yeah.
there.
So they've looked into that. They looked at the different areas and the areas that are hot on knife crime, because as you said, you cannot deny a fact. So if
Yeah.
it is statistically proven there's going to be knife crime in this area,
Yeah.
then they said, okay, we'll deploy more police into this area.
But then they're making
And
more cuts on police. Like.
They have done it, but exactly. So that was 2010.
Yeah.
Theresa May
Yeah.
made a deal with the Treasury.
Yeah.
We're going to take an 18% cut on our funding for the police. So the police are underfunded.
Yeah,
The police
100%.
themselves, just the general attitude that they receive on the road, and you know, a lot of times they wouldn't even be doing anything. I live in Croydon, so the attitude of the youth towards the police is not a positive one.
Yeah.
You know, pigs. You see them on the road,
Yeah,
you shout
pigs, yeah.
out pigs or whatever. You do something to you know, wind them
Jig
up a little bit,
boys.
see what
Yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
do. You do it. Do you know what I mean? So, if anything, you shouldn't have search and stop. You should have search and engage, because those police, there's a clear divide between the police and the youth in the community. And in order to bring back a stop and search, that's just going to create a further divide, in my opinion.
So-
you need to bring them together. There needs to be
I
a sort
think
of...
now what they do is, or at least I always see it on Twitter, like the police. So after there's been a stabbing,
Yeah.
they implement a stop and search period for like a day
Yeah,
or 3
yeah.
hours. But I can't possibly see how that is effective.
What are they?
It's not.
Okay, cool. So a stabbing is happening in a certain area, right?
Yeah.
Whoever's done that, do you think he's really gonna come?
stick around,
He's
yeah.
gonna walk
He's not
down.
going to stick around. Secondly, you bring back stop and search, that's not going to prevent people from using a knife. That's going to prevent people carrying a knife.
Yeah.
Now, what they do, and this is obviously from being myself, I've been through things. Like I know people that have carried knives. I've seen stabbings happen. So when I say this now, this is obviously from experience, and this is what has happened in the world. So I saw it on the news as well. They brought back stop and search after a stabbing had happened, and all that happened is that people just threw the knives under a bush,
exactly.
come back for it later. So you can do your searches, you can find the knives that have been left around, but the knives are still on the street.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
solving the problem at all.
That's easy to get.
Yeah, easy.
But then what can you do about that? Like, if someone comes to the shop, I'm coming
Yeah.
to buy a knife
Yeah.
for
Is
cooking.
there
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
is
That's
there a
literally
solution?
that's literally it.
What can you do?
I don't think there is like
Is there a solution?
there's no now solution, but there has to be like a start.
There has to
Or
be
like,
something to reduce it, because it's every single day you wake up in the morning and you forget the
Yeah.
news because it's not on
Like
the
once
news.
I
Jump on
literally
Twitter and then on your trending it's there.
I was coming to uni, and all I see out the station is a line of police officers standing outside the entrance,
Yeah.
blocking the entrance for kids coming out,
Yeah.
going to the
Yeah.
college
So I
around the
guess
corner.
That was another tactic. So
And they had like not X-ray machine.
Where was
it
this?
like on the airport? What was it called?
Yeah,
metal
like-
detector.
Where was
detector,
this?
Yeah.
Where
So
was
they
this?
also have
In Ludwig Grove.
No way.
Literally, I left the gym. I walk around the corner. All I see is like 2 big vans, police vans, and they have the whole kit there. And it's like 20 police officers standing outside.
Yeah. So obviously, South London, I live in Croydon. So a lot of the schools within Croydon, they would introduce, as I said, they'll deploy more police there to combat knife crime. They would bring knife wands. So not the
Not the
actual
massive
built
one,
ones,
but
but
just
the
like a
little
wand.
ones.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Little knife
So,
wand.
yeah.
They would also, Sadiq Khan has also introduced something, it's GPS tracking. So he would put a GPS tracker onto your foot if you are a known knife carrier or if you've previously been committed on knife crime. So this is once you get out of prison, now they know where you
Tags,
are.
yeah.
But once again, I asked the question, how is this combating knife crime?
It's not.
Because it's not.
No, yeah.
And the solution,
It's just preventing ones that are
It's
like from
preventing.
them,
yeah, exactly.
possibly.
Possibly from happening. But back to the root cause, I do think there is a lot of neglect for the marginalized societies. There's a lot of neglect that has led to it. Because I guess within London, we cannot say that a lot of the knife crime is not committed by black people.
Yeah.
Okay, because it is a fact. But that does not make it just black on black crime, because that's within London. What the media doesn't tell you is that in Glasgow, they had the highest homicide rate, 3.2, higher than any city in Europe. And you look at the crime there, a lot of it being knife crime, and you ask what is in common between Glasgow and what is in common between London. And what leads to knife crime in both cases is austerity and poverty.
Yeah.
not race, because the people in Glasgow, the majority of them are not black citizens; they're white. So
when you say austerity and poverty, then that's a system failure, isn't it?
that is a system.
Are they failing to look after the youth of today?
I feel, and I'm saying this because obviously having friends that are perhaps raised in conditions that are not suitable for a child. So coming home to a house where the parents are not in because the parents are out having to work hard, long hours just to even provide a house, coming home to no food on the table and being told that it's not right to pick up a knife. But what alternative are you offering? Yeah. Really and truly. It's easy to say don't pick up a knife, but give me something to do.
It's like, so I completely get that argument, but I struggled, like I was saying, a lot of people say, like, school wasn't giving me much, or like this and that. But even if the schooling, like, a lot of schools aren't great because there's so many free schools, a lot of the teachers aren't paid enough again and whatnot. But I feel like they did have an opportunity to go to school and learn. And for us, I know there were youth clubs around my area, but a lot of them didn't really help any of these people, or they didn't find it useful, and they just ended up doing the same thing. They just carried on doing road. So like, I don't know,
I guess,
what the solution is.
You know what also is, it's almost like when you have like rappers and that these days, they almost like glorify and promote this sort of lifestyle. They almost show this lifestyle as like, look at, and people listen to this music and they're like, oh, I want to be like that. Oh, like, it's, you know, drill music.
There was a lot on that, wasn't there?
Drill music talks about doing this to this person, doing that to this person.
They can jail you for drill music.
People got jailed for.
And then especially, you know, when you say like around the area and youth clubs, like especially for you, from the background you've come from, I'm myself, I always tell you this, I'm quite shocked you didn't go a different route. Like the fact that you were able to keep so on like a good, like a path that's not, because the area you're from, the situation you've been in and stuff, your life could have been so different.
And it's crazy. Like, what's it called? I only had my mum, who passed when I was 8. My dad was just around, in and out, left really. Like, I don't see him. I haven't seen him for years. Like, my brothers were in Ghana. So technically I was by myself, just with my grandparents. In my estate, there were people who were in gangs, who are all now in jail, or a lot of them in and around the area are in jail for a murder or connection to a murder. So it's like, around that time, I could have made choices which could have led me that way. I didn't have my brothers to support me. My dad didn't support me.
And that is, as you said, your brothers and your dad, people that should be role models in your life. And when people don't have those role models, that's when they often go down to the bad choices and the bad routes.
Did you not make the conscious choice not to go to do that?
And for me personally, like, and even though my brothers, of course, would never tell me to go down that route had they been there, because they came, I think, when I was 8 or 9 years old. But like, my decision was literally, look, like, these people are around, but if I hang around them, I know what my life will be like. I don't want to still be in this estate when I'm older. And this that was me at 8 or 9.
Because you wanted to get out. You had it in your head.
This is exactly what I mean. You, even at that age, you had that mindset. If you know there's a struggle, you know you're going through a struggle, the people around you are in a struggle, then why go the same route? Why go the same route?
No, I can respect that.
I'm giving you, because I'm using an example because it's the best example you can use. You literally, like you just said, you looked at it, you said, I know these people around, I know what they're doing. They might be making quick money right now. Yeah, but at the end of the day, is that a long-term investment in their life?
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I can understand where they're coming from, because then they have friends or they have boys where they're like, these lot went through the same struggle. We need to hustle. Yeah. But like, again, like you said, it's about thinking about the long term. But then when you're a kid at that age and you have no role model,
it's hard.
And like, you have no father, your dad's like left or neglected you, you only have your mum around, you want to take care of her. It's a hard place to come from. It's a hard thing to deal with, you know.
It's definitely a mixture of things, but like, what could you think the government could do more to help the younger generation?
I think youth programs.
Do you think?
I think youth programs, man, because like, once you give them that space where they can go to and maybe like take out their frustrations in like a controlled environment, like in my area in West London, they opened like the West, I think it's called the Westway Trust, where they have a boxing gym, a normal gym, and a center for them to talk and to learn with actual professionals, and it's free. So if you go to them and you tell them, oh, I'm having this problem, I'm having this issue, they'll help you.
But
Well,
then
that's the thing.
these
Are you
kids-
gonna tell like?
These kids also struggle to say anything.
Are you gonna tell
No,
your
but, like-
boys that you're going to?
No, don't
to
tell your
youth?
boys. Just go to them yourself.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm dealing with some stuff. I want to use the gym to like deal with it. They'll let you in. It's an open door policy. That's how they are.
I'm fairly like I know.
But I feel like they need more of that
that
in
same
different
thing
areas.
was in my estate. There was a youth club in my estate for people in my area who were doing road and whatnot. But I felt like they ended up just using it as a place to link up
Chill.
and meet. Like it didn't. It was like
But then there needs to be structure then.
Yeah,
So
that
it needs
is
to be
it. It does need
structure
a structure. It needs to have. There's no good opening a youth group if you're not gonna have an end goal.
exactly.
So I feel like, all right, cool. We've opened a youth group. Yeah, we've done our part. No, you haven't done your part
Yeah.
because you've opened a youth group without any sort of structure to it, any end plan, any sort of progress being shown within those beings. If you know a certain demographic or a certain area is going to be disposed to situations where perhaps they may take the life of crime, then it does need to be targeted. And I guess there is truth in what you're saying. It's a choice, and why are you going to choose this life anyways? But I guess one of the questions we haven't really looked at right now is the fact that some people don't pick up a knife just because they want that lifestyle. They pick up the knife because they don't think there's any way out of that.
Or they don't feel
And
safe.
They don't feel safe. You know, my friend got stabbed last week, so why shouldn't I carry around a life?
Yeah.
That's how some people think. I'm not saying that I would do it, but I'm saying that...
It's
Yeah.
It's so
Exactly.
hard.
And I guess speaking from the outside, and this is another thing what I think the government should do, we're speaking from the outside. Obviously, we all have friends that may be in those conditions, but we're still on the outside. We need someone from the inside. We need a mouth. We need someone to come out and speak, and someone to be a voice for people of the streets. The people that are discussing things right now are who? The government.
Yeah.
But they're not involved.
And by the way, can I just say, like, and when I found out, like, a lot of these people from my area who were involved in that murder, which happened in, like, I don't know, maybe 2011 or whatnot.
Yeah.
These were the same guys that would literally tell me, like, make sure you go to school, get an education, like, behave yourself, like.
Yeah.
But
They don't
they're
want
the
to
same
follow the
people
same
are
path.
locked up.
Yeah.
But they gave me, and I genuinely listened to them. I didn't take what they were saying as just like, because I knew what they were doing. I didn't know it would go as far as murder, but I knew what they were involved in. But they were literally advising me, like the elders were literally telling me, like, make sure you go to school.
No
do this
elders
and
are
that.
like that.
Yeah,
Most
exactly.
elders influence the young
Exactly.
to help
That's what I'm
them
saying.
make their money.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
just
what
how
you're
some
saying.
think.
Like, the government is not the voice we need. Like, we need more people.
No.
We need people, for example, if someone comes out of jail, we need rehab for them so they don't reoffend. And a lot of these people could become a voice for, you know, younger people who feel influenced by crime.
Do you know what I also think is key as well? Is offering support for people that have relations to people that have been victims of knife crime. Because a lot of people and a lot of stabbings that happen, you will be
Retaliation.
surprised, retaliation stabbings. You killed my friend, I'm going to kill yours now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you have those in places, you know, well, if you have some sort of system in place where you can go and speak to a medical professional or just speak to anyone about how you're feeling and help you get back on your feet and overcome the emotional trauma, which a lot of these people are going through, but they're just taking it out in a completely
'Cause
wrong
they'll
way
channel
by
it,
taking another
exactly.
life. That's how they're channeling it. They need another way of doing that. Do we have this right now?
No.
We don't have enough of it.
Yeah.
And that's what we do need to bring into society.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was quite deep, man.
Wow,
Really.
yeah.
But you do music.
Yeah, yeah,
You obviously know a bit about the music industry.
yeah.
Do you want to say a bit about that? Because we had a great discussion, knife crime, mental health. That was good.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Let's get a bit lighthearted now.
All right. So music industry, obviously music is a massive part of my life. I was born into a musical family. I've got cousins, uncles, aunties who are all involved in that. And it was something I latched onto really quickly.
Yeah.
And I think music in a lot of these communities is something that is pushing through a message. The message has been questioned by the government, for example, drill music. But regardless of this, they're looking for the escape. And in a lot of cases, music is the escape. So you look at people that have come out of these places, Krypton, Conan, Stormzy just being two of the biggest, that have come out of where they've been to where they are now.
Yeah.
But with that, they would also warn you about the music industry, because I look at the music industry now and it hurts, because there's been a growth in a lot of people getting locked to their label, a lot of legal issues going on,
Of course.
and the way a lot of people are seeing it now is that these massive major record labels are capitalizing on the ignorance of a lot of these upcoming artists because they don't know how the music system or the music industry is working. So let's say, for example, I guess I just wanted to shed a bit more light on this. Akala, do you know Akala?
Yeah, I know.
Literally was on his Instagram today.
He's amazing
Love
speaker.
that guy.
But he was basically describing his history as a musician. He's been around for decades now. So I think it's probably 15 years he's been around. But he was basically saying how, let's say, for example, you're a talented musician and you want to make music, okay? So I give you an advance, and that advance could be 200,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You
you
don't
have a
have that
200,000
money.
advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the money like that. So you're looking at that money.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah, you're looking at it thinking, all right, that looks good. So you get your £200 advance, and then you go on to make your album, and your album is a great album. So you sell 500,000 copies. Out of that 500,000 copies, you're selling each for about, let's say, £10 each. So all in all, you've made £5 million. So you think. So I think a lot of people look at the music industry and look at the artist and think they've got so much money, they need to be helping this community. They need to put money here and there. But what people don't know is what happens with that £5 million now, because that £5 million
Just gets spread out.
Distribution,
exactly,
management.
So you have
all of this stuff.
You have the cost. So you have the record label straight away that takes 85%. That's normally a set amount. I'm not going to say it's the same for everyone because you can get a better deal.
85%.
So leaving 15% to the artist. So that would be £750,000. Out of that £750, this is what they recoup out of your 12% that you didn't even realize. So at your 15% that you didn't realize before signing that contract, because a lot of people are getting locked down to this, is that they're taking out the tour fees, the recording fees, the promotion fees, that you didn't even know, the marketing is accurate. And it ends up that all of a sudden, after releasing a #1 album around the world,
You're left with nothing.
you owe them money. Not even that you're left with nothing. You're in debt to your record label.
And
it
you need
doesn't
to
just happen
produce
once.
the next album.
The next album. So all you're doing is raking up this debt. And this is why you're seeing such a large increase nowadays of artists going independent. And you see the independent route is actually working, because if you're looking at, let's say in the past, you're seeing that a lot of the artists nowadays are still having ongoing issues with their record labels. Lil Wayne, for example, just recently left Cash Money Business. So Eminem, for example, he had issues with vinyl records. So these are other things I'll talk about if you actually want to know about them.
Like Chance the Rapper's and
But these are scams that they implement into the contract. And the reason I'm talking about this is because everyone nowadays wants to get onto music, and they're sort of seeing a lifestyle that is portrayed without knowing what comes with the whole package. And I'm not obviously saying to go down the independent route, because a lot of times if you want to progress as an artist, if you want to get big, then you have to be hitting, I'm talking BBC One radio. I'm talking about you have to be going to those major labels. And you can get a good deal, but you just have to be aware, which is what I'm pretty much saying you have to be warned about.
Yeah, and of course, because the case is, like, as soon as, of course, you have a social media following, you can post stuff out there. So as soon as a label comes to you and they're like, yo, like, we like your stuff, we'll give you X amount to make an album, you're going to be like, yeah, because you know their reach is extensive. Whereas, like, I don't know, like, AJ Tracy's an independent artist, sort of with the reach he has, but, like, you might think, oh, I can also go down that independent route, but he also might know people that are also in music that can get him there, or you know whatnot. It's a hard decision to make, and too many people get manipulated by management, by music management, into signing deals in which they don't know what they're getting into. And it's sad.
What's your future plan with music then?
My future plan with music.
What are you looking
obviously, I'm at university now, and I guess I've always been pushing for academics. Music has always been a hobby. Something that I appreciated and something I enjoy making. And to me, my music doesn't have to get to such a large platform, because the way that I've always seen it is the content of a lot of my music, as you know, it addresses real world situations. You know,
which
a lot
how
of
it should be.
Exactly, I feel. But because of that, I don't feel it would ever get big. That's one thing, because of course the music industry is all about the money, but it's not just about the money. They also want to censor, in a sense, what you put out. So a lot of artists, one of the reasons they all stay independent is because they have that full creative freedom and control of their music, which the record label will just take away from you. You think if Dave signed to a label, he'll be making songs like the one he released yesterday, Black, or Question Time to Theresa May. That would never be played on the radio. So for me, I would not even look at a label personally. I would go down my independent route and keep pushing out music in hope that it's going to connect to at least one person and they can make that change.
But then I say it's also kind of shifted a bit to the other side where, for example, Nines has a lyric where he says something like, I'm surprised XL signed with a gangster.
Yeah.
So he signed to XL Records and he does promote drugs and he does promote, well, also speaking on reality, what he's actually experienced. So, like, what do you think about that? Like, there are some labels who there is still censorship of what you can say.
Of course, by all means, I'm saying, in no way am I saying that you're not going to get a good deal because, of course, you can get a good deal. And I'm just saying you just have to be aware.
Yeah.
So there are going to be certain labels that don't mind you pushing forward that music. You look at hip hop in its entirety now, and you sort of wonder how has it ended up to a lot of the music that is within hip hop being about sex, rap. Sorry, I'm saying rap, sex, drugs, and just
cars,
females, money,
things
same
like
stuff.
That. Yeah.
But then you look back at history and you realize that it was Russell Simmons' partner, so in charge of Def Jam, it was his partner who actually pushed forward the agenda of changing hip hop in its entirety and pushing forward that agenda. Yeah. So sometimes if that's what people are wanting in the industry, or if that's what people, the audience are wanting, they know where the money's going to be and they know the message that they don't mind pushing forward in that sense.
Then again, at the end of the day, this sort of music is pushing a lifestyle which shouldn't be. Yeah, you know, it's making like I said again, like some of them rap about what they've done, what they've experienced. Yeah, that's okay. But then some of them also they almost glorify going and like harming someone, or going and selling drugs, or going and taking drugs, and like these kids listen to that, and they're like.
But that's why most drill and that gets shut down now. Yeah. Like most of the concerts, they just get shut down straight
shut
before
down
they even like start line up.
YouTube
get shut
videos
down.
of having to be in takeoff online. Tim Westwood crib sessions, for example, and it leaves people questioning the music scene right now. But what I would say is, and I'm quite a big advocate for this, is don't believe everything you're gonna see on the social media. Yeah. And I say this because you're being told, or what you know of hip hop or rap as in a whole, is that it's rap about, and you have these features. So you have the women, the sex, the drugs, whatever. But then what you don't know about rap is that there's other rappers that are rapping about real life issues that are just not getting the same level of publicity. Yep. But you're relating those features with hip hop music. But that's just one artist. Yeah. But then you're forgetting about the other artists. I feel like we're sort of seeing the agenda that they're pushing towards us. We're forgetting things that are going on.
It's just like the media again, isn't it? Whatever they put out there in the news is what we see.
Yeah. But in terms of, it goes back to the music industry. It's not just the American music industry. I guess every UK artist wants to break through to the American market because that's where the money is. Yeah. But the UK industry is just as corrupt. And
of course.
What I love seeing nowadays is that you're getting the OGs, you're getting Skepta, a lot of the BBK members, Wiley, Jammer, who are, and I've seen them do it, they've been advocates for people going independent because they know how the labels work.
They've been in experience
the first time.
Yeah, they're not just telling you lies because they don't want to see you progress and go big. They're telling you this because they're trying to protect you because they've been on a route themselves. Yeah. So I can respect that, and I feel like young artists who want to get into music, they have to understand the industry. Yeah. And that's another point I was going to make about the levels of corruption. This was something I was reading recently. I cannot remember the name of the book. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure there will be a documentary of it online. But this is basically it was just discussing. So let's say, for example, you're releasing an album and you're giving it to a supplier company, your CDs, and that supplier company is gonna get a package of 100 CDs. Yeah. 85 out of 100 CDs are given, and 15 of those will be given for free. But the original 85, they charge a higher percentage on it. So in essence, the record label is not losing any company, but what they are doing is not selling those 15 CDs. So the artist will not get money on those 15 CDs. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you keep doing that over and over again with different suppliers and you're doing it with more boxes, then you're giving away loads of free CDs just because you don't want to pay your artist. Yeah. There was one with Eminem, for example, where so obviously sometimes when you send out a CD, there's going to be damage, so vinyl damage. So in order to succumb this, they normally just take a portion out of the original 12% that the artist would get, and if there's any damage, they'll take out money from the artist's 12%, but they will do this to digital downloads as well. Digital downloads.
No sense.
Wow.
Digital
Crazy,
downloads, they
yeah.
also charge packaging for.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
These are all things which are in the small print
Yeah.
of these things that these big artists are signing.
Yeah.
And they're not realizing it until years later when they realize, oh my gosh, I've got no money left.
Yeah.
And it is becoming too late. And this is why I'm pushing it forward, because I've done my research on it, because I've looked at deals, and, you know, if I ever wanted to go down the music route, I'm quite curious, and I have to have this knowledge
Yeah.
before
It's
I
good
put
that
pen
you
to
do,
paper.
like,
Yeah,
just
of
imagine
You put pen to paper, you're thinking that's just a sheet of paper. That sheet of paper holds power.
Yeah.
That's
That
like-
is the danger of it.
in some cases, if it's really corrupt, that's your death wish right there.
Mm.
Literally, like you're in a constant spiral of losing money, basically,
Yeah.
and putting in the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sad to see, but in terms of the music industry, I think it's heading in the right direction.
Okay.
I do remember seeing statistic. I think it was last year, so 2018. The music industry made 43 billion, but guess how much of that 43 billion the artists actually got?
How much?
12 billion of that. So the
12
rest of
billion.
that money was all for the record labels, just to
labels,
wipe up.
Crazy.
That's
But what's
mad.
even more interesting is, since there's been an increase in artists, I think it was 7% were independent originally. That's now gone up to 11%.
No.
They've gained more money, so it's gone up from the original amount. It's gone up by 3 billion.
That's
So
crazy.
it's just showing the effect that
Yeah.
independence is actually having on the industry, and I
Yeah.
do think that perhaps will be the route for a lot of artists.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
gonna be. I feel like record labels gonna start losing out
Yeah,
on everything.
especially in UK. Independent artists in UK are doing amazing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great to see
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, that was a mad podcast.
Incredible
That was
episode.
great. You had
Yeah,
very good
thank
stuff
you
to
for
say.
having me.
And no, thank you for coming down today and
Enjoyed it.
spreading some light to our listeners.
For real.
Appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to say for sponsorships, if anyone wants to sponsor the podcast, literally get in contact with us. Like that's one episode to multiple episodes. Also, if you want to be a guest, get in contact because
Yeah.
we're also we've got lined up guests as well. But if you want to come on and we haven't reached out to you, then reach out. But again, I want to say thank you to
Thanks,
Simeon for
Simeon,
being
man.
on.
Thanks
His,
for
Put your details below.
yeah,
Yeah. Inside
all your
everything.
socials, everything. So you got SoundCloud, anything?
Yeah, sound
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
sound
Everything will
We'll
be
put
down
everything there down there. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry.
everything. Yeah, it's not the number.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll catch you guys in episode 8.
All right.
Thanks,
Cheers.